counting down.
I got 10 seconds. What's he doing? Oh, you're on. You're on. You're on, Linda.
Okay. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Attorney Linda Bernard. Welcome to Chop It Up with Attorney Linda Bernard, also Detroit Police Commissioner Linda Bernard. We're delighted to have you with us today and our audience as we discuss a very important issue that affects all of us of all ages at all times, and that is the pharmaceutical industry. You're watching us on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the entire world. You can watch us, listen to us, comment, etc. on any and all social media platforms. Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all the regular ones. And today we have a very exciting, very, very intelligent, smart person who's very accomplished, quite frankly, and that is Dr. Troy Rose. Dr. Troy Rose is a pharmacist here in the city of Detroit, and he is a brilliant brother who I met, quite frankly, by accident. Welcome, Dr. Rose.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you here with us today. The issues regarding your industry are fascinating to me. Let me just very, very quickly. First of all, I want to understand the origins of the pharmaceutical industry. But today, what has fascinated most Americans, of course, is the impact that your industry has had on, like, COVID, things like that, and the fact that companies like Pfizer, etc., all of their executives now are billionaires. The drugs are big business. Legal, quote, prescription drugs are a huge business, probably bigger than just about any other industry. Can you tell us something, one, because I'm a history person, about the origins of the pharmaceutical industry? I mean, was that used to be apothecaries, or tell me?
It was apothecaries.
Talk to us, please.
It's been around.
Educate me.
It's actually been around for thousands of years. Even in ancient Greece and ancient Rome, you had the
Speak up a little bit. Thank you.
My apologies. You had the different types of herbs and oils used by the chemists of ancient Egypt and ancient Rome and whatnot, and they were herbal medicines to, I guess, the cure that ails you, so to speak. And as years have progressed and more chemicals and more elements have been found, the formulary, like, makeup of how medicines are done kind of like go into what you put in your body. Some may be healthy in small doses, some may be unhealthy in large doses. That's what the study of pharmacy is, essentially. It's the chemical makeup, it's the dosing, and it's the proper prescribing, the proper prescription, if you will, for how to maintain your health and your well-being.
You were educated. You were educated in pharmacy here in Michigan?
Yes.
Where?
Went to Oakland for undergrad, and then Eugene Applebaum, which is coincidentally right up the street here, as graduate.
Okay, so you became a licensed pharmacist.
Yes.
Which meant that you had to understand powders and liquids and how they interact, and
you have to
Tell
understand.
me how this works between you and the physician. The doctor says to me, Linda, you need to do something about your heart or something like that, and then you come back and you say, well, this is what we should do.
Well, the doctor writes the prescriptions, but I can honestly tell you it's a good deal of times when your doctor will write a prescription, it's the pharmacists that do the double checking, and a lot of times we catch their mistakes. Because especially if there's a certain drug-drug interaction that the doctor doesn't know about, we have in retail pharmacies as well as hospital pharmacies, they're called DURs, which are drug utilization reviews. So it'll come back as I process your prescription, it'll say, Linda Bernard, allergic to penicillin, but the doctor wrote you a prescription for amoxicillin, which is in the same family. So we, as the pharmacists, have to consult with you and go, well, did your doctor know that you're allergic to penicillin? Is he aware that this may be an interaction which may have an adverse reaction to your body, and what type of reaction does it cause?
So you're the person that kind of helps keep me safe. so to
In a
speak.
way, yes. That's why there are several different steps of verification, from processing a prescription to the data entry to we have, thanks to technology now, we have several different ways of scanning barcodes and NDCs, which are national drug codes, to maintain the safety and the integrity of pharmacy, to make sure that you're getting the right medication every step of the way, even down to the final check.
In Detroit, and probably in other parts of the world as well, they're not really, that I've noticed, that many African Americans in that profession. It seems to be a lot of people of foreign birth. Have you noticed that, or is that a trend, or what's happening with that?
I have.
Okay.
I have. I've worked in Dearborn, where I was the only black male, and that I was the only one that I saw. I would literally walk through the halls of the hospital like, do I see another? Do I see another one of me? No, I don't. And then if I did see one, I would go totally bonkers, like, hey, hey. And but no, growing up, I rarely saw, as it's called. There was a movie documentary about it. It was called The Black Man in the White Coat.
What does that mean in terms of your industry?
A black man in a medical profession. We have a lot of, in this area, I've noticed an influx of it as of lately coming back. But when I was growing up, especially in this area, I saw a lot of black doctors. But as they've gotten older and they've retired, you do see more of foreign origin. And they really don't understand how African American bodies work.
Meaning?
They can... Okay, it's almost like the saying, you know your body better than anybody else.
Okay.
And so that's why it's actually a hospital bias. If you look at statistics, I'm going to ask you a question. What do you think is the most neglected group in the medical field, and we're in the medical community?
Probably African Americans.
African American women.
Oh, really?
African American women are the most neglected.
Why do you say that?
It's a myriad of reasons. I've heard reasons of too problematic and too confrontational, too complicated to understand the body, and oftentimes, and I've seen this. I've seen African American women being ignored in the medical field. My own ex-wife, actually, when she was giving birth to our second daughter. Your niece, actually, Dr. Sharon
Miller.
Dr. Sharon Miller, she delivered my first daughter.
Okay.
7 years ago, actually. My youngest daughter just had her second birthday on Thursday. But when we were noticing that there were some complications while she was pushing, and my ex-wife was complaining, like, of pain and of discomfort and of, like, hey, there's a problem here.
More than the usual pain.
More than usual pain. And she was going ignored. She would constantly complain, and I could physically see that they were just writing her off like, oh, don't worry, it's just this, or oh, don't worry, it's just that. And they didn't know my job.
Okay.
So I could physically see, like, okay, well, something is going on here. And then normally after you have a child, you leave the hospital after a day or two. We were in there a week.
Okay.
She got sent home with physical therapy due to torn ligaments in her leg, back pain. And
that's painful.
And I've seen it working in several
ligaments
different
take forever to heal. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I've done that. I've had it
forever.
Oh, right. And it's painful.
Yes. She was sent home with physical therapy and a walker.
From childbirth.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Yes.
For both of you.
And seeing this in different other hospitals in the area, and I often see that they are the most neglected and the most ignored.
Okay.
It's oftentimes, and I will say African Americans, not just the women as well, but the men are ignored as well, or they're looked at as drug seekers by your hospital doctors. In October of 2020, I was at home It was about 2 o'clock in the morning. I was going to go use the restroom. I had to walk down some stairs, and when you're at the top of you think you're at the bottom of the stairs, and you miss that step.
Yeah.
I tripped, fell, and broke my foot.
Okay.
I broke my foot because
So you had diagnosed yourself. You already knew what the problem
I already knew it was broken, and I got up, and my wife at the time, she said, "You need to go to the hospital now," and I told her no, because it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I was just sitting up here reviewing paperwork, and I was having beers with the paperwork, and so I'm going to go in here. I smell like alcohol. I'm complaining about pain, and I'm a black man.
They're going to think you're a junkie?
Exactly.
Oh, come on.
No, it's true.
Wow.
It's true.
So that bias just exists within the medical community in terms of African Americans.
Yes.
Yeah, we're trying to game the system in one way or the other. Get drugs.
Exactly.
Wow.
Because it's been so prevalent for so long, we're automatically stereotyped as such. That's why African Americans do have a higher distrust of doctors, just like they would with law enforcement.
But with respect to pharmacies and so forth, I can't remember having a black pharmacist fill a prescription for me. And I'm a member of one of the larger pharmacies, where they have all my records, the doctors send everything there. I see assistants. I see like young women or young men packaging stuff and running the cash register in the pharmacy. But the person that's actually doing the pharmacy stuff, whatever it is you guys do.
Verifications.
Yeah, the pill, putting the pills in the bottles and all that kind of stuff. Those people are not African American, not even in a city like Detroit, which is predominantly African American. I know that Wayne State has a pharmacy school.
That's Eugene Applebaum.
Oh, that's what I was wondering
Yes.
what you were talking about.
Yes, that's Eugene Applebaum.
Okay, but you're right, and the law school is right next to that, and I should know that because I've seen. I was in school for 3 years, right next to the pharmacy school. So okay, but there just aren't a lot of. Do you think it's a good career choice for African Americans? And what are the prerequisites? And then we're going to get to the real meat of this discussion. But I want people to be informed about this is an opportunity for themselves or their family members.
The prerequisites are your pharmacy school admission test, your PCATs.
Oh, you have to take just like medical school and law school.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. I didn't know that.
You do your years of pharmacy school, then you have an intern.
How many years?
It all depends on your time frame, honestly.
Okay, but honestly, if you're going to school full time.
2 years.
Okay, 2 years. Okay, go ahead.
2 years. And then you have your residency, and then you can have your PGY1, which is your postgraduate year 1, which you can do in hospitals. And then you have your PGY2 if you're going to specialize in certain things, like my specialty is pediatrics.
Okay.
And oncology.
In terms of drugs, as a pharmacist?
Yes.
Pharmacists have specialties?
Yes.
You're the first person that has ever told me that.
Yes, no, pharmacists have specialties.
I did not know that.
Working in certain hospitals, I knew a pharmacist whose specialty was cardiology.
Drugs for the heart?
Yes. A pharmacist has a specialty, and you can have it in cardiology, diabetes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, so when you're a specialist, as a pharmacist, you're in the hospital generally, not in CVS or Walgreens?
Oh, no, you can. Well, if you're specializing, you would want to stay in the hospitals.
Okay.
Due to the variety of ailments that come into the hospitals.
What are the security systems like in a pharmacy and or in a hospital with respect to drugs?
Well, in a hospital, one hospital I worked at. In a hospital, it was an access code. You have to scan your badge, and it's the last four digits of your social security number in order for the door to open.
Oh, for you to get into where the drugs are.
To get into the inpatient pharmacy.
Okay. Are all the narcotic drugs there too? All
in
the
a
drugs
separate, it's within the pharmacy, but it's in a vault.
Really?
Which is only accessed by a certain amount of people.
Okay, that have that code.
Yes, so not everybody can get in.
Okay.
And the narcotics are delivered by your technicians and whatnot, which I did do for a while. And it's their responsibility in order to get them to what's called the Pyxis or the Omnicell, which is the delivery system in which the nurses and doctors can access the drugs.
But there's no such thing in the CVS near my house, and And I can imagine that a lot of people have various pain medication, which is the emphasis now. I guess because all the pharmaceutical companies just got sued, and they lost hundreds of millions of dollars in this. Whatever that was, it oxycodone and stuff like
Yes.
that. Yeah, that kind of
The
thing.
Purdue Pharmaceutical lawsuit, correct?
Yeah, it was almost $1 billion.
Oxycontin, I remember that one.
Yeah, and it was on 60 Minutes and everything. But back to the point, in neighborhood pharmacies, CVS, Walgreens, I don't see this room that you're talking about.
It's a safe. It's a safe.
Is it a big safe or a little safe?
You can have some that look like gun safes, which are like in the CVS that's currently by my home. It's a very tall and skinny safe. It's about a little bit taller than me. Mm-hmm. I would say it's about maybe 2 foot by 7 foot, with different shelves, and it's a time delay safe. So you would have to put in the code, and you have to wait a certain amount of minutes before that safe will become available to open. So you would have to punch in the code, wait the allotted amount of time. It could be 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, what have you. And then after that, the safe will beep, and then you have to re-punch in the code again in order to open it.
So that's why it takes so long to get scripts filled if they're pain medicine.
Yes.
And I know that doctors have to write a physical script now. They can't call in oxycodone.
They have to be e-prescribed now as of January 1st.
Of this year?
Yes. No more
2023?
written. No more written. They have to be e-filed.
What does that mean?
Electronically sent in. I just
You
found
mean
this out
from the computer of
Yes.
in the doctor's office?
Yes, I just found this out myself a few days ago, so I really don't have all the details of it. When somebody brought in a prescription for Norco, and the other pharmacist that was there with me, she was like, "Oh, we can't take this anymore." I was like,
Really?
"Well, why?" Then no more written prescriptions. They all have to be e-filed. So I'm still trying to figure out all the semantics with that as well. So I'm.
Well, they're
I'm
trying to
just
track down who's prescribing stuff. Several doctors that I know have had issues with the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office regarding prescriptions.
Yes.
For pain medication.
Yes.
Several have been indicted.
Yes. I knew one very well.
I want you to tell me about that, and I want our audience to understand how important this is. That these scripts that people write sometimes can get the physician, the pharmacist,
Yeah.
and physician in trouble. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Chop It Up with Attorney Linda Bernard on WJZZ, the coolest station in the world. You can watch us. Listen to us, subscribe to us. Let us know what you think on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, all of the social media platforms. My guest today is the very distinguished Dr. Tony Rose, an African-American male pharmacist who is now retired, but who understands that industry. And as you can hear, just listening to him, he's a very, very smart guy. So, but anyway, and we're talking right now about the fact that so many pharmacists and physicians have gotten caught up in these cases that the federal government brings, not state government, for writing scripts for narcotics.
Well, yes, because you have prescriptions that are in, it's a controlled substance classification. So you have controlled substances which are classified as C5s, which could be your alprazolams, which are Xanax. Another C5, I think.
That's a controlled. Xanax is like a mood enhancer.
Xanax
or something.
is a controlled substance.
Yeah, a lot of women take that.
Then you can go up further to a C4, which is tramadol. And certain tramadol is considered as a C4 controlled substance. And the lower the number, the higher the classification.
Oh, so what's a C1?
A C1 would be heroin.
You can't
cocaine.
get heroin?
You can actually get a cocaine 4% nasal injection at a hospital for people who have sinus and nasal surgeries to numb it.
Oh, to numb it. Okay.
But
you can't keep using it.
No. It was actually an archaic practice. I used this years ago. I used powdered cocaine to mix into a paste for a burn victim.
To put on the wound.
Mm-hmm.
And
they had 3rd and 4th degree burns. Mm-hmm.
They still do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
it's
Not
very
really.
rare now. It's very rare now due to the advancements of certain types of topical pain medications and whatnot. Your C2s, which are, and the classification is based on the likelihood of abuse and dependency.
Okay.
So, of course, C1s would be cocaine, heroin, and whatnot. Your C2s are Norcos, which are hydrocodone, Percocet, which is oxycodone and acetaminophen,
Those are
dextroamphetamine, which is Adderall. Those have the highest potential for abuse and dependency and misuse.
Okay, so now you guys are sort of working together to protect the public, if you will, because when you see the script and then you see the person and you're thinking this and you know the frequency of in which they're getting them filled and everything.
Well, that's done through, there's a system called MAPS, which is the Michigan Automated Prescription System.
Are you serious? There's
So
another layer?
Yes.
So whatever happened to just a pharmacist who could just do what he has to do, you know?
Well, remember how this was as recently as I've been in hospitals for a while now, so it's I've just recently gone back to retail. So I left hospitals in 2019. I left retail in 2019 to go to hospitals. But back then, when somebody would bring in a prescription for Percocet or Tramadol, anything that was a controlled substance, you would have to take their driver's license and write their driver's license number down on.
Okay.
When you go and drop off your prescription, or if you bring in, so say like, here, I have this prescription here. Okay, I see it's for Norco. Okay, let me get your driver's...
Norco is
hydrocodone and acetaminophen. It's a Schedule II narcotic.
Okay.
So that's a pain med.
Norco.
Yes.
Okay, I'm listening.
And I ask you for your driver's license and your insurance card. Okay, you give it to me. The technician normally gives it to the pharmacist, who looks up your driver's license number in the maps. And
what do you mean? Looks up my driver's license number.
Because your driver's license number used to have to be on the prescription, and now they, even with these medications, anything that's a controlled substance, so say you go to pick it up, if it's a controlled substance, they ask you for your driver's license to scan the back of it.
Okay.
And it tracks what you've gotten and at what store you've gotten it at. And what's your frequency.
Suppose I'm picking it up from my grandmother. You know, she doesn't have, she's 90 years old or whatever. Tell me.
Well,
what do we do?
That's when you use your good
If I'm
faith.
picking it up, they're still going to use my driver's license.
Exactly.
I see. So now she doesn't have, even if she had a driver's license.
But you use the good faith. You use the good faith. You can tell, like, okay, we know a 90-year-old person isn't sitting up here
date of birth,
popping pills and all of this.
No.
Because when you go to pick up the prescription, we ask for the name and the date of birth in order to verify and to see what's in the system.
Okay.
That's in a retail pharmacy. In an inpatient hospital pharmacy, it's already been verified with doctors. You're in the hospital,
right.
And everything is pretty much
so
already
this
verified
system
for
exists in hospitals as well as in pharmacies.
In
this
retail,
control that you guys have.
Yes. In order to prevent abuse.
So really, there are 350 million Americans. You all can track anybody through their prescriptions, through their drug habits. I mean,
it makes it sound like Big Brother is watching, but it's more of a DEA regulation.
Okay.
In order to prevent. So say like if random Joe Blow got pulled over and he was a drug dealer, and I actually knew a drug dealer way back when who would take other people's prescriptions and sell them. And he would request that you leave their name and everything on the bottle. So if he was ever pulled over, he could say something like,
this is Linda's.
This is my aunt's. Mm-hmm. And she left it in the car. Mm-hmm. And then he would dispose of the bottles afterwards.
Oh, my gosh. So this is...
So it's not a 100% foolproof plan, because people are always going to find ways to get around things.
Of course.
And you working in law enforcement as well as being a judge and an attorney, you know that people will always try to find a way to cheat the system.
Okay, so tell me what you viewed as the direct link between the big pharma and these small pharmacies that were distributing these drugs that you say are C1, track 1, track 2.
Well, C1s are not available to get a prescription written for at all. They have to have a necessary medical need.
Like I'm dying of cancer and I'm in pain or something like that?
Well, you wouldn't use heroin for that. So your C2s, fentanyl patches, that's something normal of a terminal cancer patient for pain relief. And fentanyl has been a very big thing going around recently.
Yeah, because it's coming across the border every day.
Doing on the rise, exactly. And I would say a lot of people.
So fentanyl is actually a good drug. I just thought it was a narcotic. I mean, I didn't realize you actually can take fentanyl for pain or whatever.
Yes. Fentanyl is actually included. So you have, if you've ever seen paramedics carrying those little orange boxes,
Yeah.
those are called ACMA boxes. They have drugs in them which are used in immediate life-saving measures.
Are they locked up,
by
the
the
little
paramedics?
They're controlled. You can't. I can't go grab one.
But they have things in there like adenosine, amiodarone. Then you have glucose and dextrose and whatnot. Your basic immediate life-saving drugs like nitroglycerin and whatnot. But in one corner of the pocket, they're bagged up and they have to be documented every time that they're used. You have 4 controlled substances. You have ketamine, midazolam, which is Versed, which is
what?
Midazolam, which is Versed. That's a controlled substance as well. You have fentanyl, and oh Jesus, it's escaping me right now. Fentanyl, ketamine, midazolam. Oh, that 4th one is escaping me right now.
But there are 4 drugs that
4 different controlled substances in that one box. But every time that it's used and opened, you have to the paramedics have to document it. Mm-hmm. And when the paramedics get the boxes from the hospitals, it comes with a green zip tie. Yes, to show that it's been
untampered with.
Untampered with, new, verified by your pharmacist. And then we include a red zip tie on the inside with documentation papers. So once something's been used, even if a controlled substance wasn't used, if something like nitroglycerin was used, or the 81 milligram aspirins for somebody like having a heart issue, you still have to put that red zip tie on, document what you used, and then when you bring that person to the hospital, then the pharmacy from the inpatient takes it back, and then they redo the drugs in the box to replenishment, basically.
That's really, really interesting, and I had no idea that paramedics could do these things, and that this is in ambulances that go all over town and everything. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching, obviously, a very, very distinguished man, Dr. Troy Rose, who is a pharmacist, a retired pharmacist here in the city of Detroit. You're watching us on WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. I'm attorney Linda Bernard, the host of Chop It Up, and I'm delighted to have you watching me today with a man that I'm learning so very, very much about, an industry that I don't know a lot about. What has taken what has captured the headlines recently, and involving your industry, of course, is the enormous amount of money that is made by what they call big pharma, and the issues that exist between the United States and, like, let's say, Philippines or Canada or anywhere, where drugs are much cheaper than they are here. Do you have any perspective on why? Any perspective actually on the United States and our pharmaceutical practices versus that of other countries? Because I know people who go to Canada to get various drugs that are much cheaper. I don't think you can get narcotics. Maybe you can explain that to us. But what is this control that we seem to have in the United States that makes drugs so expensive? Even Congress just addressed it, but they didn't really address it, as you know. But talk to me about this phenomenon, if you can, please.
Greed and capitalism.
Tell me what you're talking about.
Okay.
Go back to okay.
So
greed and capitalism.
For, say, lisinopril, which is a blood pressure medication.
What is it?
Lisinopril.
Okay.
It was often called Zestril or Prinvil.
Okay.
Back in the day, because it takes 17 years for a generic of a medication to come out. That's how long the patent has on.
Yeah.
On
Once
the
I create the
name brand.
drug, I can control it for 17 years before you can make a generic. Okay.
I think those years have changed within recent times, so I'm not entirely sure. It's just greed and capitalism. Lisinopril costs less than $1 to make.
Okay.
But yet, when you have to pay a cash price for it, some pharmacies will charge you $80. Others will charge as low as $5. I remember when I first started in pharmacy, I worked at a Rite Aid. They used to have what was called the RX Savings Program. You could get your generic blood pressure medications, cholesterol medications, and whatnot for $4.
Okay.
And then as you see more greed and more capitalism coming up, they're charging more and more and more for these prescription drugs. Like, say, okay, one monopoly I always like to talk about with people is Gilead Sciences. They make most of your HIV medications.
Okay.
So I saw an HIV medication come through my screen as recently as 3 days ago. Now, you have certain types of assistance programs here in Michigan. One I'm very familiar with is called MIDAP, the Michigan Drug Assistance Program. That they kind of work together with your insurance company to help you out on certain things. A bottle of, I think it's either Genvoya or Biktarvy. One of the two.
I see that advertised on TV all the time. Victarvy.
How much do you think one bottle of that costs? Now, you got to remember,
Are these pills or is it liquid?
Pills.
Okay, go ahead.
You're taking this one bottle, it's going to last you 1 month.
Okay, 30 days.
30 days. How much do you think that bottle would cost you if you had no insurance out of pocket?
I don't know.
Over $6,000.
Are you serious?
Over $6,000.
For the AIDS medication that they advertise on TV, Biktarvy?
Yes. If you did not have insurance, it would be over $6,000 for that one bottle.
Oh, come on.
No. And especially like if you go to, you can easily call up your pharmacy and request the cash price of a medication.
Okay.
They can give you the access to that.
Okay.
Whether it be CVS, Rite Aid, or Walgreens, they can give you the cash price of what your medication is. Insulin is no different. You have these injectable medications like Ozempic, Trulicity, Mounjaro, which are new.
Ozempic does. I see it on TV all the time. Oh, Ozempic?
Yes.
All right.
They're over $1,000 cash price.
Wow. So this is something that do you know if the new legislation that allegedly was part of the bills that were just passed by Congress really truly lowered prescription drug prices?
No.
They did not.
No.
I didn't think they did.
You're always going to have two lobbies in Congress. That is your drug lobby and your gun lobby.
Okay.
You're always going to have lobbyists in the pockets of congressmen.
Big money.
Exactly. And those Congress people will do anything that they can to stop the legislations preventing the money from flowing into their pockets.
Right, because they're getting paid by the lobbyists to vote a certain way.
Exactly.
And that's what it's all about.
Exactly.
As we say in my community, it's all about the Benjamins, baby.
There you go.
It's all about
there
the Benjamins.
You go.
So,
if you're giving me $50 million to sit up here and vote a certain way on this bill, which will keep the money floating in my pockets, yes, I'm going to do it.
Through my PAC or my campaign, I mean, it's all recorded, but it's unlimited. The amount of money you can give a congressperson is unlimited now. Right, because the Supreme Court said that, and now I always say we have the best Congress that money can buy.
Exactly.
Which is the way it works. And particular, so the pharmaceutical lobby, is that strong in the United States?
Yes. Yes.
So
GlaxoSmithKline, AstraZeneca, Eli Lilly, which makes certain Novo Nordisk, which makes some of your insulin such as Levemir and Novolog, which are astronomical in pricing as well. My grandmother used to get a box of, I think it was Novolog.
What is that for?
Insulin.
Okay.
And she would have a $50 copay.
Okay.
For one box, even though she was on Medicare, had UAW retiree benefits, which is considered, as everybody knows, that's some good insurance.
Yeah, platinum insurance, right.
But you're still paying such a high copay.
Right.
Whereas you see some people that are on Medicare and Medicaid insurance through the state, they'll pay nothing for their insulin.
Right.
It's all dependent upon what your insurance company wants you to pay as your copay.
Speaking of that, what is your perspective on, since we're talking about these drugs and how they affect low-income people, but like you talked about the AIDS drug and everything, I mean, all this money, just $1,000, I mean, it's unbelievable. What, in your opinion, is the best insurance for people who have prescriptions or need, or is it? I guess it depends on the type of prescription as well.
It does.
But just in general, what's your perspective?
I really can't say, because just like you said, it depends on the type of prescription. Mm-hmm. So say a person on United Healthcare has a blood pressure medication as opposed to this person on United Healthcare that has an HIV medication.
Yeah.
It's two separate things, and it's two separate prescriptions, whereas this person's blood pressure medication will be covered and it will be no charge as a copay, $0 copay, whereas this person may have a $125 copay. I've seen people on the same insurances who have different Adderall prescriptions. This one person pays $30, whereas this person pays $80 for the exact same drug, exact same quantity. It's all dependent. Your insurance company determines your copay.
I see. And Congress is controlling all of this, the United States Congress.
This could be ended in one day if a certain legislation passes. It has to have the right amount of verbiage in it and just in order, because I've always believed that health care is a right, not a privilege.
Yeah, I agree with you about that.
But too many people out here think the other way. It's a privilege to have health care, not a right. That's why you had certain Republican Congress people or senators trying to downvote Obamacare to get rid of it. It was saved at the last minute by a Republican senator, actually, John McCain, when he was the last deciding vote, and he voted no to repealing Obamacare.
Right.
That's why so many people...
Remember, he did this.
Yeah, he did no. And
thumbs down.
He was dying of cancer at the time.
Yeah.
And that's why you still have... Because if Obamacare had been repealed, you would have had over 16 million people kicked off of health care.
And so when that happens, in reality, what does that mean, Doctor?
It means you're going to have a lot of people who cannot afford medications. There was a guy, when I first started in pharmacy, his name was Michael Packard. He told me, as a technician, pharmacy is a stressful job because you're going to be dealing, especially in retail, you're going to be dealing with a person coming from a doctor they didn't want to see, getting a diagnosis they didn't want to hear, coming to your pharmacy with a prescription that they can or may not be able to afford to fill and to take, and a medication that they don't want to take, and you're going to be the first person that they see, and they're going to take it all out on you. So don't take it personal.
So those long lines in pharmacies and so forth where people are picking up their prescriptions, that's something that you've dealt with, and I'm sure that many times you've had to tell them how much it is, and sometimes they can't afford it. Or
yes. Yes.
So
and especially everybody in pharmacy, especially retail pharmacy, we hate the beginning of the new year.
Why?
New insurance cards, new insurances coming over. And then you spend the first 3 weeks of the new year reprocessing a prescription and getting everything into the system and whatnot. You're going to hate it. And sometimes insurances, I've seen this as recently as 2 weeks ago, they last week, because the beginning of the year. Whereas a person had been paying $35 for a 90-day supply of a blood pressure medication, and then it all of a sudden jumps up to $60.
Wow.
And you have to think most elderly people are on budgets.
Correct.
So they budget.
Fixed incomes, right.
Exactly. So they're budgeting like, okay, I have this for groceries, I have this for bills, I have this for my prescriptions. Now, some people are blessed to not have to have a prescription budget. But those that do, if their insurance company changes the price of a medication, they're screwed.
You're absolutely right. And so pharmacies, the pharmaceutical lobby, you say, is the strongest?
One of the strongest, along with the gun lobby.
I believe you.
Why do you think there's still so many school shootings, so many mass shootings, and nothing's done about it?
But I don't know, but I blame that on guns per se.
We could have had a lot more gun control a lot sooner if certain Congress people didn't downvote on certain things.
Well, during the Clinton administration, they had stopped the sale and use of assault weapons.
Yes.
I remember that because I was at a seminar, and then they had all the guns laying. FBI had done all those big guns that can do all kinds of things, and it had ceased. I mean, he had issued an executive order to that effect. And then, of course, when he left office, I think Bush took over after Clinton.
Yes.
Then it disappeared. I mean, because they were outlawed for a while. Because I remember distinctly being at a seminar with Reverend Jesse Jackson and the Department of Justice, and they had all those weapons laid out there that were all banned. That you couldn't sell in the United States. But okay, so we've got that perspective. And ladies and gentlemen, once again, you're watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. I'm attorney Linda Bernard, and you are privileged today to listen to on Chop It Up. I'm chopping it up today with Dr. Troy Rose, who is a licensed pharmacist, currently retired, here in the state of Michigan. And as you can see, knows a lot about medicine. You can see it in his eyes. He's, as my mother would say, he's smart as a whip. So, so it's great. I'm very glad that you could be here with us today. Let me ask you a question. Since you say the pharmaceutical lobby really controls the drug prices, there isn't a lot that we as citizens can do about that until
You vote.
Yeah.
You vote.
Yeah, but even after the vote, I mean, it all gets twisted up and compromised because of the amount of money that's involved. As you know, once you start making those mega contributions, which can be unlimited, to my PAC, my Political Action Committee, or to my campaign, which you could do legally now, then, you know, everything changes. Everybody goes to Congress with a small office holder's account, and when they leave, they're all millionaires. I'll never forget. I mean, from Dick Cheney, who was in Congress, became vice president.
Yep.
I think when he won for Congress from Texas, wherever it was he was from, he had like $18,000, and then when he left, he was worth several million. That doesn't happen by accident.
And he was also George H.W. Bush's Secretary of Defense.
Correct. I mean, it's just amazing how money can corrupt the situation. But let me ask you something, because a lot of people, because of what's happening with the pharmaceutical industry and the prices that you're talking about and the price gouging, have gone to holistic medicine. What's your perspective on that? See, honestly, I know. I mean, that's like asking me as a lawyer, how do I feel about people, generating their own documents,
Representing
or
themselves.
Yeah, but on the real side, is there a segue you think for the community now to deal with quote holistic doctors? I mean, and are there potions and powders and stuff, drugs in the atmosphere, plants that can heal us?
Yes. I'm not going to say everyone, but yes. And even though I'm allergic to THC, which is the active ingredient in marijuana is actually a very good, potent medicine.
Really?
It serves a great medicinal purpose.
For real?
Yes. Actually, a prescription drug that we have, Marinol, or which we keep in the pharmacy, which is a Schedule III narcotic, is a derivative of marijuana.
Okay.
And it's normally given to increase appetite in cancer patients.
Okay. Alrighty. So talk to me more about this. Do you know any holistic doctors, or have you ever had any experience with people? They fill their own prescriptions, correct? I mean, I'm calling it a prescription, but it's. Well, talk to me about this.
Well, see, you have several.
I've never been to one.
Me neither. I've never really interacted with one.
I want to, though.
I've spoken to, I would say, maybe 3.
Okay.
I've only spoken to maybe 3, and one thought crystals in positive water healed everything.
That's ridiculous.
I don't know what positive water is, but I kind of want to see it.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if it can do something for my back. All right, let's see what positive water can do.
Okay.
I'm tired of taking ibuprofen. And then you have another one who he's actually not far from here. He's off 7 Mile and Woodward-ish area. And I last spoke to him last year, who was, I guess he was giving his COVID cure, and it was all like different herbs and things that he was growing in his garden. He ordered like the little capsules, the empty capsules. I think he ordered them off of Amazon or something or other. And then he would take these herbs out of his back garden. He told me what they were too. It sounded like an Italian recipe. And and then he would dry them out, and then he would pulverize them in a mortar and pestle, and then he would fill the capsules with them, and then give them to the people that was coming to see him.
And they had a positive result.
I did not ask.
We don't know.
I did not ask. I mentally left the conversation. It's like that old OJ song. Your body's here with me, but your mind is on the other side of town.
Okay.
Because when he was talking and I was elsewhere.
Because you really understand drugs and you understand what they can do for people.
And I can understand how they can harm people as well, especially if you're giving somebody an herb that you've grown in your garden.
Okay.
You don't know they're allergic to that, but you're giving it to them because you're thinking it's the be-all, end-all cure, and then they end up having an allergic reaction to something that you gave them. You're responsible. You're at fault.
Right.
You have no medical knowledge of anything. A pharmacy technician has more medical knowledge than most people out here who are armchair doctors.
Okay. Now, you said marijuana was good. You said, tell me why. Why do you think this works for people? Or
Appetite suppressants.
That's what I
pain
need.
relief.
I've never done marijuana.
Well, no, not appetite suppressants. Appetite stimulants.
I don't need that. I definitely don't need that.
Appetite stimulants. Pain relief. Very good pain relief.
Is it really?
Yes.
You're talking about if you smoke a marijuana cigarette, or what are we talking about? Or gummies?
You can have the gummies.
I've
you can
asked
have
for those. I've never had one. Go ahead, I'm listening.
You want one?
I want to try it. Yeah,
Okay.
I do want to try it because I can't smoke cigarettes. I mean, I don't smoke at all. But I'd like to try a gummy.
Yeah, you don't smoke. Don't do that.
Are those Marlboros?
Yes,
in a
those are
green pack.
Made with peppermint.
Oh my! Instead of menthol.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, I'm learning here today, ladies and gentlemen, and I know you are too. I didn't know there was such a thing as a peppermint cigarette.
Yes.
Cigarette. Peppermint Marlboro, no
Yes.
less,
Yes.
which is king of all cigarettes.
But no, what was I saying? Marijuana.
Marijuana.
Yeah.
I want to talk.
No, I remember your address. I remember your house. Just if you just hear on your door and then you see my car driving off, just open your mailbox.
No, but seriously. So tell me about. We've ignored it in terms of. I know the pharmaceutical industry is getting ready to get heavily involved since it's been legalized.
Yes.
So many places. How do you see that all playing out?
I actually see it playing out very well.
Okay.
I actually see it playing out very well because you have these chronic pain patients, and whereas they do have adverse reactions to things like the oxycodone and the hydrocodone, which is in Norco, like oxycodone with me, I can't take it. It makes me nauseous.
Yeah, it makes a lot of people.
It makes me severely nauseous.
Yeah, and they do start to vomit and stuff like that, which is awful.
Same with me. But also I'm allergic to the THC in marijuana as well, which is the active ingredient. So I just take my ibuprofen. And honestly, the reason you can have some.
How can you know you're allergic to THC?
I've tried it.
And what happened to you?
Hives and asphyxiation.
Oh, wow. Well, then that's true. There's no question.
Hives
about
and
it.
asphyxiation.
It's like a shellfish kind of reaction. It's
Yes.
a real clear allergy. You can't
Yes.
mistake it for anything else.
My daughter, who has a shellfish allergy, but she'll sit up there and eat my 21-piece shrimp basket from the Coney and then walk around scratching her arms all day, saying, "I'm
really?
itching." Yeah, you just ate my shrimp, dude.
Right,
so,
right.
Yeah. So you can have severe allergic reactions or you can have mild ones such as the hives. With the THC, with the appetite stimulant, because of course you're going to get hungry after smoking. People call it the munchies.
Right. I've heard of that, right.
Because you're going to eat and eat and eat. With cancer patients who the chemo, like it subdues their appetite and then they're weak and whatnot, they can't, they'll just waste away if they don't eat.
Right.
And you need the food and nutrition to strengthen your body up against the medication that's going in it to kill the cancer cells. With pain relief, you could have chronic back pain. You can take marijuana for irritable bowel syndrome. There is a very rare condition called myasthenia gravis. It's like a form of nerve damage and whatnot. It causes severe pain. And you can take marijuana through that. And you can take it in the edible. You can smoke the marijuana cigarette. You can vape it. And you have the gummies.
So you go to the marijuana places to get these.
Any of your dispensaries.
Tell me about the back pain situation, because my sister has chronic back pain. She's had that. She calls it a cage put in her back. The
spinal fusion.
Yeah, spinal fusion with the screws.
Yes, I know a few
About
people
16, 17. And over time, she had it done years ago, so now the spine has shifted,
Yes.
For above the cage.
Okay.
Above, well, I call it the cage. Above the cage,
Yes.
the spine changes on its own. So she has this in pain now, and she can't have another surgery. She's actually too old to get another surgery, but she's in constant pain. What helps that?
Honestly, it would be a pain management.
Yeah, but I know they give her the epidurals, the shot in the back.
The epidural,
back here,
your
but
body,
it doesn't work.
A lot of times, your body starts to build up a tolerance to the medication that's going into your body.
Okay.
A lot of times, that's why they tell you to make sure you finish all of your antibiotics, because if you don't finish all of them, then you get an antibiotic resistance.
Okay.
And that's why I say you got to make sure you finish this, because then your body will start to build
I got
up
to
an
start
immunity
doing
to
that.
it.
I never do, but okay, I'll do better.
Shame.
Just because of you.
Shame.
Just because of you. We and everybody who's watching today, we got to finish those. That Z-Pack.
Exactly.
I take the 2 pills and 1 pill, and then I stop.
Don't do that.
Okay, I just did it because I had a severe cold. But okay, but back to this pain issue, because this is a major issue for people. So what kind of marijuana, if you will, helps with pain? Or
now, I'm not a marijuana aficionado, so I'm not going to touch that one. But a good deal of your people at your dispensaries, they will tell you what's an indica, what's a sativa, what's a this, what's a that. I have a friend who does have severe back pain, and she always... she sends me into the store, into the dispensary, and I get, it's lemon something gelato 33. And it's in a vape cartridge. And I go in there, I buy that, and then I just bring it to her, and she claims it helps her pain. I don't know what the chemical makeup of it is. I don't know how it's done, but in order for these things to be sold in dispensaries, I do assume that they have to go through some type of regulatory, checklist. Okay. So with dispensary things, I could not tell you about. I could have a dispensary guy come on here and tell you about all the medical marijuana and whatnot.
Yeah,
I know several.
Okay, that'd be great. I want to do that because I think people need to because that's like a holistic medicine approach.
It could be considered as such because it's natural. It's herbal. Herbal.
It's not created in a lab, is it?
No. You have some that are done with hydroponics, which it's a rapidly growing method. Whatnot, in order to get your medication out. Not a lot of marijuana strains, I would say, are heavily manipulated or heavily chemically compounded.
Can you tell me, because you smoke cigarettes, I don't smoke cigarettes or cigars, but what does vaping do? Is that thing that looks like a cigarette?
No, you can have a vape that looks like this, which has
what
different.
Is it?
Oh, it's in this pocket. It's a Breeze Pro. This is Anejo. It's Red Bull flavored. It has liquid nicotine inside of the cartridges in here. This is a disposable, and in order to get just your quick nicotine fix as opposed to smoking a cigarette.
Is it healthier than a cigarette?
No, these are actually a hell of a lot worse.
Oh, okay. Then my sister smokes, so I don't want to.
Yeah, these are actually worse due to the metal and the hot vapor and whatnot in your lungs. I actually need to let these go. Seriously. I need to let both of them go, but what are you going to do?
I understand. So that's what so you said you can get a marijuana vape?
Yes.
Like that little cartridge?
They look like little pins. The ones that I've seen, they look like little pins. Yes, I have seen some that look like these cartridges.
Okay. But those aren't unhealthy, or are those unhealthy for you? If it's a vape, what's the best way if you wanted to use marijuana for pain management? What's the best way to imbibe it that's not harmful to your lungs and your body?
In my opinion, now somebody else may have a different opinion than me. I would say edibles, eating it.
Okay. All right, edibles.
Yeah, I would say edibles, eating it. That would be my personal opinion. If somebody else may say...
You can have it with your coffee.
Yes, when they say you're a crackpot, you have...
A coffee.
Exactly.
Have a brownie and a coffee.
I've seen marijuana oils that you can drop on your food. And some people have perfected it to the point, I think Gordon Ramsay did a tour of it. You can find it on YouTube, where the gentleman perfected his tincture to where every drop was a milligram of THC, which is the active ingredient.
Okay.
And it was used for like pain management in cancer patients and whatnot. And each drop was a milligram. And it's several different ways.
This has been prevalent for a very, very long time outside of the United States. We've just starting to come around here with marijuana as a quote medicinal.
Yes.
So you're excited about it as a pharmacist, is that correct?
I'm excited to see what new possibilities await for this type of treatment plan.
Okay.
Because it may cut down
For pain.
Yes, for pain
And appetite.
Pain and appetite.
Appetite increase.
And, well, it also is an anxiety reducer and whatnot. It has several different psychoactive effects: anxiety, nightmares, just your overall jitteriness. It relaxes you. It relaxes you and it puts you at ease.
Right.
And I've never heard of anybody in over 1,500 years dying of a marijuana overdose. So
I heard
all you're
that.
going to do is get hungry.
But it does affect your ability to operate vehicles and things like
Yes,
that.
it does slow down reaction time. I will say it does slow down reaction time, and I do understand that I think it is still being regulated as such as like driving impaired with
Yeah,
like drinking and
it is
driving.
considered an impairment, and it's under the DUI, driving under the influence
Okay.
statute. I want to thank you, Dr. Rose, for joining me today on Chop It Up. You've been an exciting and interesting guest. I've learned so much, and I hope our audience has as well.
Thank
The
you.
pharmaceutical business is humongous, and when you told me how much that Britavic or whatever,
Biktarvy.
yeah, for people with AIDS, that's a commercial that runs all the time. I had no idea it was what, $1,000,
6,000.
6,000 a month, so to speak, for that. Oh my gosh! So it's important to keep that in. That insurance and everything, that's for sure. So you can at least manage it, because I understand that AIDS is on the rise in Detroit. HIV
Yes.
is on the rise in Michigan and in Detroit in
Yes.
particular. So, ladies and gentlemen, not only protect yourself, stay aware of these drug issues and drug prices. As Dr. Rose has said, you can ask what the price of a drug is at your pharmacy. Plus, you can shop it around. Maybe you can go to Canada or something like that, or ask, where you can get these things. I don't know about Mexico, but you probably know more about all of that than I do. But I want to thank you for joining me today.
Well, thank you for calling
You
me.
have enlightened our community and the whole world, because this broadcast goes around the globe. So I really appreciate your participation, Dr. Rose.
Oh, thank
I'd
you.
like to thank you for joining me again on Chop It Up. I'm attorney Linda Bernard, and everybody, get well, stay healthy, so we don't have to go to the pharmacist